So we have discussed about primary data and its methods of collection. Primary data is nothing but the data which is collected by the investigator for the first time for a specific purpose in view. Such data has never been used earlier. Means it is the data which is collected at the as the first hand, and it is used only for that particular purpose. So what are the different we have discussed about different methods of collecting primary data also. We have interview methods, surveys, observations, and questionnaires and schedules. So these one also we have already discussed. And what are the advantages of primary data and disadvantages of primary data? Advantages of primary data are nothing but as you are collecting the data for the first time, it's always has with less it has more accuracy and less mistakes will be observed, and the accuracy of the data is more in primary data. Okay. What are the disadvantages of this means, if you collect data every time, if you don't refer to the previous data for every purpose, if you are going to collect the data for the first time, it costs very much and it takes much time also. So for primary data we have discussed what is primary data, what are different methods of collecting primary data, advantages and disadvantages. So the second one is nothing but secondary data. As the name itself tells that the data which is already been identified and collected, and we are going to use the already existing data is called the secondary data. So what are the sources of secondary data means, you have secondary data means the data which has been already collected data and may be used data, it's already existing data which is already collected, may be used by someone for their purpose and can be used by any others also. Such data is called the secondary data. So what are the sources of such secondary data is nothing but sources of such secondary data are nothing but internal sources of data. Internal sources is the first category, and external sources of data. Under internal sources, so we have different 4 categories on that: accounting records, Salesforce reports, miscellaneous reports and internal experts. So with respect to any company or any industry, the data or the accounts which are maintained by the company itself means internally with respect to any particular, if you are dealing with any manufacturing industry, okay, the data which is maintained by the company itself are called the internal sources. External sources are called the internal sources. Under external sources we have, again under this category we have government records or publications, okay, non-government publications, so what are the government publications? So whatever the data released by the data maintained by the government organization are called the government publications, such as the data, the statistics released by Indian economy and the RBI bulletins and the currency and the finance reports, and the data which is available with respect to National Sample Survey Organizations and CSO, Central Statistical Organization. Government publications are nothing but these are it is a main source of secondary source. These are the publications or data maintained or released by any of the government organizations like RBI's, okay, any NSS which is called the National Sample Survey Organizations and Central Statistical Organizations. The second one is nothing but non-government publications. So besides the government organizations, there are number of private organizations which deal with the big data, which are nothing but under this non-government publication. We see that a huge data is maintained by stock exchange. Okay. which are nothing but national level information and others. So secondary data is nothing but the data which is already used or which is already collected, and anybody or can make use of such data is called the secondary data. Under sources of secondary data, we have two major sources: internal sources and external sources. I think if you are dealing with any unit, manufacturing unit or any other firm, the source, the records or the accounting records and miscellaneous reports, whatever may be maintained by the particular manufacturing industry, becomes the internal sources for those, and external sources are nothing but the one we have two types. Those are nothing but government publications and non-government publications. Under government publications, name itself tells that the data which was released by the any government organizations like RBI, NSS and CSS. Under non-government organizations, along with the government official official agencies, we also see that some of the private organizations release a large number of publications. Best example is nothing but stock exchange directories and many more. In your book you can refer to those. So secondary sources are nothing but those. Now what are the source advantages of and disadvantages of secondary data? Means secondary data as the data is already collected and used data, you can it reduces a lot of time and money, and as it already available for you, you can readily use the data. What are the limitations of these data? Means maybe when you have many options, I think there is an inaccuracy. The purpose for which you are studying the data, if when you have the more than two options, I think you should go for the best option. So while choosing the from the available collected data, when you commit a mistake, I think the entire survey will be misleading. Okay, so whenever it has its own advantages and disadvantages. As the data is already available to you, I think collection time and money is reduced. But while choosing the proper data, you should go for correct option or the correct source. Otherwise, the entire results may mislead you. These are the advantages and disadvantages of secondary data. So this is about the types of data. Next one, we have used the terms like questionnaire and schedule. Let us see, because the unit 2 majorly consists of theory part. Okay, so let us discuss about the questionnaire and schedules. What is questionnaire? Name itself tells that a questionnaire is nothing but list of questions. Those are prepared with respect to particular objective. Okay, when you are performing any survey or if you are given with any task to get the required information, you should frame all the questions related to the particular study in a systematic manner, which means you are framing all the questions in a systematic manner, which is called questionnaire. So what are the major points you should concentrate while preparing a questionnaire? So what is the major points you should remember for preparing a best or good questionnaire is nothing but it should not be too lengthy. So even though you require much data, I think the number of questions should be limited. It should not be too lengthy. If it is too lengthy, if the number of questions are very high, I think the patience of the respondent may change and you may not get the proper information is the first point. Means the number of questions the number of questions should be limited, so that with the available questions only, with the limited questions only, you should be able to get the good information. Second one is nothing but whenever you give a questionnaire to the respondent, it should use simple terminology, or it should be easily understood by the respondent. If the terms or the notation which we are using is complex, then the respondent may not give the clear answers to you. Okay, that is the second one. And moreover, it should have a multiple choice option, so you cannot pose such a questions that write a short note on that or describe in 2-3 sentences. You cannot pose the questions in such way. They should be as simple as possible, and there should be no ambiguity when you are given with multiple choice. Suppose that all the questions consist of the number of options. There should be no ambiguity among these 4 options. These 4 should be 4 different options. So that is another point to make view. And also the best one is nothing but the questionnaire. Means I think it's a printed paper or whatever it may be. It should have a good look to get a first impression on the questionnaire. So when do you call a questionnaire? Questionnaire is a good questionnaire, or a best one is nothing but the number of questions should be less, and there should be no ambiguity in the options given to you. It should not contain too many options or related options, and it should have a good look for the questionnaire, and there should be no repeated questions. So if I am preparing 20 questions, all the 20 questions should be distinct. Means no 2 questions should be the same, or no 2 questions should have the same meaning. So you should make all those points. If you can prepare with such perspectives, I think the questionnaire which we have prepared becomes the best questionnaire, so that the data which we get is nothing but very much useful for our task. So this is about the questionnaire and the points to be taken while preparing a good questionnaire. So the next one is nothing but schedule. So I already said you what a schedule is. Schedule is nothing but it is also a type of questionnaire, where in the questionnaire I said you there are 2 persons like respondent and investigator. Okay, a questionnaire is being filled by the investigator. Both are same. A questionnaire consists of a list of questions. A schedule also consists of a list of questions. So a questionnaire is being filled by the investigator. So the investigator is going to explain each and every question in that questionnaire, and the questionnaire is being filled by the investigator, whereas the schedule is being sent through mail or post or email. Okay, nowadays means the basic difference between these two is nothing but it is being filled by the investigator. It is being filled by the respondent itself. Questionnaire has its own advantages. Schedule has its own advantages and disadvantages. What is the advantage with questionnaire is nothing but whenever the respondent is illiterate, we cannot use the schedule, as he is unable to respond to the list of questions. So the advantage of this is nothing but when the respondent is illiterate, we can go for questionnaire. Whenever the respondent is able to answer, we can use the schedule. So whenever I think when we go for mailing or postal, means whenever the respondent is in remote areas, so the investigator is in Mumbai and he should get data from some other corner of the country, then the investigator cannot move to each and every respondent to get the required data. In such case, the investigator is going to post a schedule or a list of questions in a format called schedule to the respective destination, and he is going to get back the schedule for the required information. So this is preferred when the investigator is at remote places or when he is a literate person. To reduce the time of the survey, we can go for schedule. These are about questionnaire and schedule. Okay, now this is done. Second one is, next topic we are going to discuss is nothing but census and sampling. We have said that we have different types of data. What are the types of data? What are the sources? How to get the required data? Now, how do you perform? What do you call it as a particular survey as census and sampling? Census is nothing but to get the required information. Okay, so let us say that you are going to collect a data from 1,000 households with respect to some task is given to you. You need to collect data from 1,000 households. So if you are going to read, or if you are going to collect information from all the, without leaving even one household, if you are going to get information from each and every household in the population, we are going to call that study as census. Under census, each and every unit of the population is being studied. So, what is sampling? So, even though using census, you are going to get more accurate. Using census, as the investigator is moving to each and every unit of the population, I think without skipping even one household or the one unit of the population, he is going to get more accurate data. But if you observe that census is done limitedly, because it consumes more time and it consumes much money, because to investigate 1,000 households, I think the work done with one investigator requires more, I think 2-3 months. If he involves more than one investigator, he can get the data in less time. We observe that under census, it is more time consuming, and also it involves much budget also. So to reduce these two factors, we go for sampling. What do you mean by sampling? So whenever we have less time and limited budget, and we are going to, instead of studying each and every unit in the population, we are going to get information from a limited part or a subset of, or a small part of the population. And we say, out of, if my purpose is to get information from 1,000 households. Now I am not preferring census. Then what I am going to do is nothing but, out of these 1,000 units, only from, let us say that 50 or 60 households, I am going to get collect 50 or 60 units from this population, and I am going to get the required information from these 50-60 units only in less time with less money, and I am going to conclude the conclusions for the required study. This is called sampling. Under census, each and every unit of the population being studied to conclude about the required task. It gives more accurate results, but it consumes more time and money. So to reduce, to overcome these two factors, we go for sampling, where instead of studying each and every unit of the population, we are going to concentrate only on a part of the population, and we are going to collect the required information from those part of the population, and we are going to make analysis on that, and we are going to conclude about the required task. So this is about census and sampling. Census and sampling. Okay, thank you.